Hi, John Wanoa here. Today is Monday, 30th of January 2017. Just ringing Joseph Dargaville in Pangaroo. If he's there. Oops, I'll be gone. No, he's not there. I'll try later, but just while we're on this, I'm just putting together the documents for Waitangi Day, and starting from the 2nd of February 2017. Yesterday I spoke to Sunakora, so she'll be up there and with her Maori government and the Confederation, and I've been speaking to the United States, California, got a couple of people there, Raymond Faithful, and I've sent him information there on the subject of the Standing Rock Indian nation there, and support for their native people. I'm just explaining to him that we are instrumental here in forming the native court under this flag was King William the Fourth and King William the Third. So you'll see that on Facebook. I'll put that there now. I'm trying to condense everything into a writ of execution warrant through the British law, UK system, which is what Moai Crown is going under as partnership with the King William III and St. Patrick's Church order on my hat here, and really with the Admiralty laws of the sea. That's what we are applying here as the difference between the Moai Crown and the British Crown of Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth, currently challenged by Moai Crown and King Ernest Augustus, the successor to King William III and King William IV. Here be our partner as swearing oath of office to a monarch. You'll find that the Queen Elizabeth monarch has shifted into the EU Parliament and is a conflict of interest in Westminster Parliament. Although she's living in London, her brain and her corporate private business is in EU Parliament and Brussels, to United States of America. The UN in America and federal state is her business in America, and the United States of America subject to her Crown Corporation and EU Parliament now, not so much Westminster, although she struts around there. She has abandoned ship of Admiralty and has gone her own private business corporation way in EU Parliament, and that's where the conflict is at the present time, that we are challenging her title in the Crown, Westminster, with Ernest Augustus, King Ernest Augustus the Fifth, reigning monarch of Britain, UK. So there won't be any more King of England or Queen of England as such, as a separated state of the EU Parliament or Westminster Parliament system. Britain, UK, is still there as being Wales, England and Scotland at the moment. Northern Ireland pulled out with Sinn Féin, and he's gone into the EU Parliament, and Scotland with Nicola Sturgeon, First Prime Minister, wants to go to the EU Parliament as well, is divided on Scottish Protestant and Catholics division. We're going with the Protestants, Protestants in Northern Ireland under St. Patrick's 8-point star here of our jurisdiction of boroughs, councils, and picking up the rent as rent chiefs here in New Zealand, the land rent chiefs under the 8-point star on this flag here, the four corners of the earth. So that's our St. Patrick's order that we are claiming to be in that position of King's authority. Okay, with our native land court, we're going to be forming on the Po Whenua, which is the Ancestor's wooden carved totem poles, what you might call, in the paddock at Te Moai, in the paddock there, where the chiefs all sat together and signed agreements. But we're talking about forming and reasserting the 1834 Declaration of War flag. You'll see me writing a lot about it online and the videos, and including this one. What I mean by the Declaration of War flag here is that in times of financial threats on our national security here in New Zealand, or its accounts of trade and investment in other countries or on our land, a threat to our natural resources by any foreign agent or Crown Corporation of the Queen when she's in corrupted fraud state with Obama and Hillary Clinton. When it comes to John Key, ex-Prime Minister, sending 30 million New Zealand citizens, taxpayers' dollars into the Clinton Foundation in America, then that's fraud. That is against this flag when we use it as a declaration of war to recover all that money back to the citizens of New Zealand with this flag. That's what its reason is, not to cause a war, because the king conquers lands, and as far as we're concerned as native chiefs, this land was conquered by King William IV as king's lands of his king's occupation land titles. Okay, occupation land titles. Now we can recall or seize or confiscate those land titles if there's a threat of its business entities that are going against this law of Admiralty, mortgage, liens, levy, debtor instruments. So that's what I really wanted to clear up, the difference between a declaration of war with a gun for conquering lands and seizing back lands into the king's land title from a foreign land title. In other words, a third party running our country. They're on contract. You see, Bill English is on a contract here. We're severing the contract. Well, that's up to Sunekora and her Maori government with Maori people. No problem with that. With this same flag a year later, from 1834, is the Confederation's part of the flag, as set aside from the Admiralty of the king himself and his king's lands that he has conquered here in New Zealand. We'll only stick to New Zealand lands, not the Pacific lands initially, but although it encompasses the Pacific Islands, we are going to deal with the Waitangi land blocks and Titi land blocks that Chief Kingi Taurua, Chief of Ngāti Rahiri, Hapu, wants back. Nothing to do with the iwi, because that's the alien New South Wales government and their Vice Admiral. We are the Admiral flag of a king. As such, they have no Admiralty of their own, no sovereignty of their own, no decoration of their own, and no monarch of their own, as we have. So that's the proof is in this statement I make on this video today, being Monday the 30th of January 2017, for the record, here, inside that Moai Crown 1834 Whakamininga Native Court on Te Moai in the paddock, where the memorial land title is Pou Whenua, is what they call it. That means memorial to the land. Title. You need that to make title. That's why we're going to sit there on the ground with all the people there as part of the grand jury of people that say aye or no to what we say on the 7-panel native court. Inside a tent I'll have up beside the popos, those are the ancestors' memorials, and our chiefs, 4 chiefs, Chief Kingi Taurua, commercial landowner of Te and Waitangi land blocks, and Tupi Wikotu, or Jim, chief of the Matatua, Hapu, as being the spiritual part of that native court, and also the flag bearer. He'd be holding the flag and proclaiming the land belongs to the chiefs and not the King and Queen of England. And then we have the Justice of Peace, JP, Court JP, I must say, in the Queen's Bench Court before, Manahi Parapara Mohini. So his job is to do the legal side of courts, the native court there into the district courts of New Zealand and the High Courts of New Zealand as being one courtroom set aside for us. And we can write in our own fashion the land laws of England and Britain UK under King William III, 1600 AD to 1830, King William IV, period of Monarch to 1837. So those acts of Parliament all the way through includes the Bank of England Act, the Pound Note Act, and every other act we apply in that native court as original. We can pick on all those laws and acts and the laws and acts of the present British government, dual government with us, the native, with this flag. It's a dual government running here. That's quite separate to the Maori government and Sunakura. The Maori government is under the 1835 Declaration of Independence flag, New South Wales. In the other side, the King's flag of 1834, same flag, different jurisdictions. Same flag and different laws. Okay, so now we have the native court specifically for native surname chiefs only. There's not going to be any European names or British names, surnames inside it. Otherwise it doesn't work, as at the 20th of March 1834, Pomare, Chief Pomare II, and Captain James Ready Clendon, Admiralty, surrogate King William IV, transaction on land title. That's the one we are doing, direct to Britain, Westminster. And previous to that, Chief Tira Waikato Wharaherehere Manukau, 1830, Cambridge, England. the native title under the Manukau Land Company, real estate company in Glasgow, Scotland. That's the first title that was written up with him and the British King, William IV, Crown Corporations. That now became a native British blueprinted title to transfer native lands in New Zealand initially and around the world, in all the Commonwealth countries of the world, comes under that 1830 Manukau title and Manukau Land Company, British Westminster government. Okay, you got that? So that just defines for you the Maori side of this flag and the British side of this flag. British side is the levy debtor instruments and pound note recovery systems of land and its assets base that's been corrupted. In other words, John Key's $30 million donation of taxpayers here in this country are occupying these lands, these King's lands, in a King's Bench court. Is live now on that marae. And we recover the 30 million New Zealand dollars back into that King's Bench native court. Onto Te Marae, transfer of powers into the Waitangi Marae King's Bench Native Court house. Grand jury next to the British ship of Admiralty, King William IV, sitting in the paddock on the treaty grounds, or the Waitangi Marae grounds. We're calling it the Waitangi Marae grounds, not the treaty grounds, because the treaty belongs to the Maoris. So now we have our property, which is the ship of Admiralty, as our memorial title from Britain to the land, the native land title, which is the Popo or Po Whenua on the Te Marae ground land. Transfer that power from the chiefs, open court, grand jury, writ of execution warrant to seize all those lands on the TT land and the Marae and the 1840 obelisk title to New Zealand, seize that and seize the Waitangi lands and the ship of Admiralty, that's our property, and the Marae with my carvings inside it of my ancestors at East Cape, Ngāti Pro area, or Uataha Hapu and Moai Wanoa Hapu title inside Waitangi Marae in those carvings. So that's my own personal ancestral inheritance title inside the Marae, as Kingi would attest to that he is the commercial landowner of that Waitangi land block, and I'm the owner, commercial land owner of the memorials inside there and the Moai statue in London and the Moai statue in Auckland and Dunedin. These are real ones I'm talking about, as our mana whenua, Popo, memorial land title. Okay, so they commercialised our Popos and our memorials to make money out of. So all we're doing is using their authority of King William IV and King William III, St. Patrick's Order, borough councils, here to collect the money, the borough councils, the rates, the rent, the fines, the administration costs comes out of this St. Patrick's Church Order in Belfast, Ireland, Northern Ireland, as our ancestors, the Cosgroves, and Patrick's, Jamie Patrick, and my own Rebecca Cosgrove married Mataru Wānoa at the East Cape. So those are my Irish ancestral titles in Belfast with St. Patrick's Church Order, and Jamie Anna Marie Patrick, my private secretary in the Moai Crown, Federal State, Commonwealth Government of the World, dual government, William Yard, Devon, Port, England, transfer powers to Westminster Parliament, okay, with this flag. So that gives you a broad legal picture of our authority here with this hat and the shirt that I wear as the uniform for sheriff, surrogate king, levy, debtor, pound note, instruments to recover land back into the King's Bench Court. So we transfer the power from the Pau Whenua and Tauranga Tira chiefs onto Lien into the Waitangi Marae King's Bench Native Court on the 6th of February. So we're putting this Native Court together on the 2nd of February 2017. Is historic for the record on this video and for the record in Westminster Parliament, Britain, UK. To our partner, Sir Philip Jones, Chief of Navy and Military, you are our legal partner on this video as in a legal, legitimate, corporate crown business with King William III and King William IV, Crown Monarch, defaulted contract to Bill English, Prime Minister of New Zealand. It's in a defaulted contract, and the consequences of Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister John Key and his Panama Papers fraud scam and his $30 million donation to the Clinton Foundation, corrupted fraud organisation. Right? That's the threat of a declaration of war flag, writ of execution warrant on this video. I'm stating here on this video that we are seizing the land blocks at Waitangi Marae and Te Marae and its memorials, and both Marae's memorials, back into the King's Bench Native Court, where it was sold in the first place. Then we transfer that authority of a native land court into all the district courts and high courts of New Zealand to start with, before it goes around the world. Okay, each courthouse will have this flag flying outside up the top. It will be flying permanent on the Waitangi grounds forevermore on the top. The Union Jack will come down onto the cross rung opposite the British flag as being the war flag. The Declaration of War flag, the Union Jack is a war flag, a sea, King of the Sea flag of jurisdiction. Okay, so that belongs to the war veterans of this country. In other words, the Maori war veterans of 1945. That's when the word Maori was invented by the Crown New Zealand corporations. So they're going to get the bill from us and the Native Court hearing on the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and then the 6th. Final notice to settle accounts, Bill English. We're settling the accounts with you and calling the account up. The Ancient Treasury, interest HM Treasury in England, audit. The New Zealand Treasury, audit. The Intuition New Zealand Limited company, private company, audit. And the New Zealand Cabinet, audit of your accounts. And the Queen Victoria Trust, audit of accounts. The BNZ Bank, audit of accounts. The Akaroa Bank, audit of accounts. Church and State, audit of accounts here in New Zealand. And the Parliament, audit of its accounts as well. All of the business of the Crown Corporation New Zealand, the shares on the stock market, audit, and its whole government. What we're doing here is leaving the New Zealand government to run itself into the ground, because now we have a Maori government, a proficient woman, Sunakora, who used to be the Maori policymaker for Sir Geoffrey Palmer, the Labour Party, and she put the 1986 Constitution Act together. She can go and undo it. Just what Donald Trump is doing to Obama's executive orders, undo them. So she's going to undo what she did and put it back into however she wants to run her Maori government, alongside the New Zealand government. Whether she sacks them or not is her business, but I'm saying my preference is not to sack the government, because they are levy debtors. We've levy debted you 970 million trillion pounds, Governor General, Patsy Reedy, Honourable, Excellency, whatever you want to put your name is. I think I'm quite excellent myself, really. I've got everything that you haven't got, as far as how you got here in the first place, from England. I have the right to take that off you with this flag, as a declaration of threat, war. On the financial side, the financial martial law is going right on your head with that 970 million trillion pound note, Patsy Reedy, if I may call you Patsy, and Pansy, the other one, Paula Bennett. Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall, and she ain't going to get back up again after we've dealt with her, with Sunakora and her Maori government, Confederation of Chiefs. Now, I'm separating Sunakora. She's quite respectful of what I'm saying on the Waitangi marae with Kingi Todo, Chief, as his say first and then her say after. That's in order, because I'm making the announcement that she's going to be speaking inside that marae as the grandmother of the Grannies Club in the world of Indigenous nations. Now, she's very good at what she does in the grandmother's organisation or entity in the world. And she's very good at Putin with Russia. She's got trade agreements with Russia in the Confederation as a federal state already. So she has her contracts, we have our contracts. She can run alongside the Moai. The Moai has a world government set up, online, ready to go. And she has her government ready to go. Although Maori has its own brand name, Moai has its own brand name as well, and is standing, its memorials are standing in the most powerful countries in the world, namely Scotland, Britain, London, Brussels, New York, Washington DC, Chile, New Zealand, South Island, Dunedin, Auckland, real Moais I'm talking about, the mana whenua. And France. So there, those are just some to name a few where our mana whenua is standing, where the most powerful instruments are in finance, commerce and crown corporations. Created the bound note and the Bank of England. King William III created that, and he created the 8-point star, St. Patrick's Church order to collect the money in the councils, the borough councils or counties, through the King's Bench native courts, or King's Bench courts for that matter, in the Commonwealth countries. So that's the separation of powers. We are forcing again from the 15th of April 2016, we opened up that Waitangi Moai King's Bench Native Court with Police Constable Paul Tipene in attendance, witnessing the event, and also Maury Rapana, the Cultural Manager for the Waitangi Marae and Waitangi National Trusts. Corporate business there on that marae. Okay, so we have made our intentions clear, and I'm using these videos as evidence for any court hearings that we have, that we swear to our ancestors on that Tahitian land block for those lands back into the custody of the chiefs and King's Bench Native Court there. Okay, we're taking the authority from that court in open air. They'll sit on the ground. Everybody will sit on the ground, the whānau, the hapu and the chiefs. That means Maori and Moai. There's not very many Moai at the moment because we only got 4 that we need. 4 chiefs, myself as sheriff, that's 5, Jamie Patrick, that's 6, and Jono Rolo Wā, that's 7 on our native court administrators, okay, with the exception that Jamie and I are Moai Crown. Her Patrick here, surname to Patrick, St. Patrick's Church, Island, Belfast. Patrick Down Patrick, that village of Down Patrick with the church on top of the hill, that's her ancestor to this 8-point star on the flag. And mine being Moai statue standing in London as mana whenua, and standing here in Auckland in the museum, the domain, Auckland Domain, and in Dunedin Museum as the crown on his head. The hat is the real crown. Okay, so those two, her and I, go together on the commercial, corporate side of Maori and Moai to claim their title to our lands and to every other Indigenous land in the world where this has gone to as a blueprint. Native title transferred to the King of England. Okay, so that's about all I want to say. I'll just try Joseph again. He's a cousin of Dick Dargaville, and Dick is on the committee at Waitangi, Te Marae. Now I'll just try again. See if I can get him this time. I'm ringing Joseph Dargaville. He's a kaumatua Pangaroo. Kohu. He's early off the blocks this morning. Anyway, if you're watching this video, Joseph, I'll catch you up north, because I'll bring the documents, I'll print them out. Okay, that's the end of that. I never got them, but anyway, I just let those people up north know that I'll be copying out these documents and giving to you at the meeting. We'll have spare copies there for those 4 chiefs, and also for any other chief that I think is supporting us. Okay, it's a very hard thing to get your head around, the Moai system of kings and chiefs. Well, thank you very much. That's about all I want to say, other than these Americans that I'm sending this information to, and we'll set this native court up, and then we'll set the native court up with them there to exercise their authority over their lands. In other words, everyone who has occupied the land with an occupation title from Britain is a tenant on the land. So the system of ground rent chiefs, which is what the sheriff is, land rent chief. That's the legal term for the sheriff. In the court is the registrar of the birth certificates as bonds, that we seize all of that authority back. We let them use it, but we contract everybody through this system to Moai Crown, King William IV Crown Corporation. Okay? Thank you very much. We'll see you later. Bye for now. Have a nice day.